Okay, looks like we're up and running. Well, almost. There we are. Okay, so welcome to round 2 of ACC season 4. This is Aero League Racing. This is Suzuka as well. So Suzuka is a track that features on every game that we do, F1, GT, and ACC, and it's the second round of this championship. So we got a few changes from last week in terms of who is gold, silver, and bronze. So let's just scroll down and I'll tell you. We've got Capale is down in silver now, and I think Paul might have been promoted to gold. Paris has moved up from bronze to silver, so him and Capale separated by less than 3/10 on the grid in their first race together, both as silver drivers. We've got Spectre has moved up into gold. That's not a surprise after his first race last week back with us. I think everyone else is pretty much where they should be. Got some new drivers. Zaitsev is a reserve driver. He is making his debut, I'm pretty sure, for ALR. Trying to see if there's anyone else new. Everyone else looks like they were here last week. Apart from Roloffs, he missed last week. He's back this week. I think Major may have missed last week as well. We've got a full 32 drivers on the grid today, which is good to see. Second race in a row for the season. Hello, Rojanov. You're doing pretty well in practice, I saw. Top by almost 3/10 of a second there ahead of Peter. I saw Peter actually get ahead of you at one point, so you've nicked that back off him. And Weston is the only other one within half a second. So that's quite surprising. So Peter obviously at the winner of round 1, he ended up getting pole position and never really looked back for the whole race. Built up a nice cushion and maintained it at Misano. But it might not be the same this week. We have to wait and see what qualifying brings for sure. Got Morrow, Scanlon and Steenstra rounding out the top 6. The only drivers within a second of Rojanov's time in practice anyway. So we might have a bit of a spread out grid today, if that is what ends up happening. Looks like we got some good weather for the race. It doesn't look like it's going to be raining, just sunny with clouds the entire time. Vitra looks like he's the quickest in silver at the moment. He's just chilling in the pits. He is not even he's about half a tenth quicker than Capale. So Capale looking for a class win on his return. Then down in bronze, Fitzinho, who was quickest in practice along with Dan last week. Now he's just quickest on his own by a second ahead of Danders. Danders won the bronze class last week. Fitzinho really could have done it, and Dan really should have done it, but they both got drive-through penalties for speeding in the pit lane. Omoda's going to be looking for a bit of a comeback this week as well. He was pretty low in his class last week, so he'll be looking for a comeback today for sure. Everyone is just in the pits right now. We've only got 2 minutes before qualifying starts. Forcer, another one who had a pretty rough week last week. He was the championship runner-up last season and struggled on the outskirts of the top 10 for the entire race. Stuck behind cars, but even when he wasn't, he was sometimes holding up other cars as well. He's only 17th in practice at the moment. Oliver's in the pits already. Let's see if anyone else is going to finish the laps. Dande's looking to improve and get at least within a second of Fitzinho, who's up in 19th there. Bit wide on the entry into the final chicane. You meant to really cut that corner, so that will have lost him a chunk of time. And we don't even see. He was the last one. Now qualifying has started, so we'll have to see who is first out of the garage and give them a bit of love on the opening, at least out lap. Looks like it might be. It's not Bomber. It's someone in front of him. Can't quite see. Looks like Forster's actually the first out. Okay, so our championship runner-up has clear air in front of him, at least for this opening part. Lots of drivers still in the pits deciding to stagger coming out because everyone is going to be pretty slow on this outlap as they try and find a suitable gap in front of them. That's his real name, Ben. I can give you a surname reveal as well, Thormington. So yeah, they're not doing a very good job of spacing out, to be honest. There's 4 cars very, very close together here, and then there's a bit of a gap to Regnick's on the mini-map we can see. So these guys are going to have to start thinking about cooling off a little bit. Maybe they're trying. Maybe Bomber's a little bit scared of giving up track position to the car behind him. Oof, power sliding through the corner has made Bomber back out, and it looks like we're going to have a little challenge. It looks like Rozhnov's going to try and overtake Skinsey. Skinsey might just let him go here. This is not the best outlap for these guys. You want to be getting space, and it looks like Bomber's not going to back off either. He's going to stay pretty close to Rozhnov. Maybe think about the slipstream a little bit. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, Rozhnov ends up being the lead driver as we start our hot laps for the first time. So we got Rozhnov in first place setting these laps, and then behind him's Bomber, then decent way behind is Skinsey. So Skinsey did end up getting clear air, just not as the top car. We got car number 2, which I think is Brian's. Yeah, Brian is just ahead of them on his outlap, so we'll have to see if he gets in the way, because he's going to have to get out of the way of a lot of cars if he doesn't really put his foot down on this outlap. Meanwhile, Rozhnov just exiting Sector 1 now, so he was going through the really tight and twisty S's at the start, very technical part of the track, really having to glide the corner through with as much speed as possible. Quite hard on the tyres as well, as we saw them sliding around the Degnas as well, really decent there. Bomber going very wide on the exit of Degna 2, so that's going to ruin his lap, and Skinsey's going to be glad that he didn't leave him not enough space, because he's gonna, well, he's pretty much caught Bomber at this point. Anyway, Rozhnov is having a completely different lap. It looks like a pretty decent lap to begin with. Hello, Chaos. So we're going around Spoon now, heading onto the back straight, so the longest acceleration point in the track. This is where the engine difference and how they've set the aerodynamics upon the car is going to come into play, because the lower downforce cars will probably get a few extra kilometers an hour as we head into 130R. And yeah, it looks like a pretty tidy lap from Rozhnov. We haven't seen him go wide anywhere at all. He was super quick in practice, so I'm expecting this to be a really solid benchmark, especially with how far back Bomber fell off the back of him on that lap. So he's going to come around and set a time of A 2-minute flat, that's incredibly quick. Scanlan's going to be next to cross the line, and it was an invalidated lap. Andy Winters actually goes up into second and immediately gets knocked out by Regnix, who's 4/10 back on Rozhnov. Lots of drivers coming through the start-finish line with invalidated laps. That's why you're not seeing any new ones. Capel is the first silver driver to set a valid lap. He's up into fourth, one position ahead of Oliver now. Omoda, pretty scruffy lap there. Looks like he's only down in P9. Morrow up into third place, sorry, with 4/10 down on Rozhanov's time. So Rozhanov set a really good benchmark on his first lap, and a bunch of drivers haven't even set times yet. The only bronze driver to set a time is Fracas, who was 34 seconds off the pace. So not what we're expected to see trouble the top 25 or 30 even, potentially. Back at the top, Steenstra's managed to pop himself up into fourth place as well. So pretty decent start for Steenstra, but he is over a second down on Rozhanov's time, so there must be a lot of time left in these laps. They're going to all continue going around. It's quite a long lap to try and reset to the pits, unless you have a big accident. Let's go and join Weatherston. Weatherston looks like he is just crossing the start-finish line to do his hot lap. So let's stick with him for a while and examine the timing screen. Cabras is now the highest silver driver, up in fifth. Pretty decent for him, as one of the drivers goes off in front of Weatherston. So not a good lap for him. He hasn't set a valid lap, whoever that is. Might be in Skippers, I'm not too sure. Now he's getting out the way of Weatherston, and he spins it. He spins it around, and that's going to get in the way of a lot of drivers behind Weatherston. Weatherston will have probably got away with that. As we finish sector 1, we're heading into the Degners now. He's got another car that he's coming up to. He's probably on a hot lap themselves. That's the that is Skippers in front of him. Skip's gone very wide on the exit of sector 2, just decides to get completely out of the way for Weatherston. All these little incidents will have been making Weatherston slightly lift and change his angles out of corners, so it will be affecting his pace a little bit here. It's not going to be at the top, I'd be surprised. Meanwhile, Oliver's gone up into P2. That's a great lap for Oliver. Still 4/10 down on Rozhanov, but ahead of Regnix and Morrow, and Capel has popped up into P5, just ahead of Fitterer and Cabras. So some strong times by some of the silver drivers. Paris, the new silver driver, is currently down in 16th, 4 seconds off, so he's got a lot of time to find. Yeah, we've only got one Nissan on the grid. Only Dan picked it. I'm not sure if it's a popular one, but all these cars have excuse me, a certain balance of performance applied to try and even out the pace of them, so it shouldn't matter too much which car ends up getting picked. So we've seen some more movement further down. Zaitsev up into P9, so top 10 on his debut. So pretty decent qualifying for him so far. Weston, who did so well last week, only in 10th, and Andy Winters only in 11th, so expecting more from them. Weatherston, meanwhile, goes up into P2. So again, 4/10 behind Rozhanov. We've got about 5 drivers all separated by less than 1/10 of a second. Make that 6 from Weatherston down. So it's really tight for the battle for P2, but Rozhanov just looks in a world of his own. Let's see if he can improve again. He's the only man in the 2 minutes. Everyone else in the top 10 is in the 2-minute ones, I think. So Rozhanov keeping it really tight on the final corner. Shortest run down to the checkered flag, and he does improve. He improves massively by half a second. That is a 2-minute 0.4, and he's going to dive straight into the pits. Weatherston's coming out of the pits himself. And yeah, it's looking pretty ominous for everyone, because Rozhanov's pace here is incredible. Oliver diving into the pits, so let's see if Regnix is on a lap and if he can improve. We've got 6 minutes left of qualifying. 4 different cars in the top 4 as well. You'll love to see it. Never mind. Morrow has just popped up into 3rd, and Peter's actually popped up into 2nd. So the times are definitely coming down now. Peter was our pole sitter last week, so he's back up at the top end of the grid. That bumps Oliver, who was 2nd just a minute ago, down to 5th. Reznic's coming into some traffic now on his hot lap. Zaitsev up into P4. That's incredible. I don't know where this guy came from, but he's got bags of pace. Only 6/10 down on Rozhnov's time. Meanwhile, Reznic's is coming through the hairpin. Morrow up into P3 as well. Got to point out. Meanwhile, there's a big gap down to bronze, actually. Dande's on provisional pole for bronze, 2.6 seconds off, and then he's a second ahead of Fitzpatrick. In practice, Fitzinho was a full second quicker than Dandes, so this is a bit of a reversal of fortune. Reznic's looking to improve on P8 here. He's just heading into the final chicane. And it's looked like a pretty tidy lap. A little bit of a bump over the curb there on the exit. Doesn't keep it as tight as Rozhnov did when he was setting his fastest lap. So this is going to be... doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement actually for Reznic's. Meanwhile, I think Weatherston is just about to finish his lap. So let's see if he can improve. He's 8/10 off at the moment. What can he do? No, I think he's just starting his final lap actually. Zaitsev coming through 130R. Let's give him a bit of attention because he's popped up in the top 5 on his debut so far, looking to improve even more. 2 Mustangs in the top 4 at the moment. So a wide exit from the final corner, and this is not going to be an improvement for... Oh, it actually does. He's back up into P4, overtaking Morrow, overtaking Weston. He's 6/10 off as well. So pretty solid lap for him. He's done for qualifying, I think, by the looks of things. We've got Rozhnov with a bumped up looking car there. We'll see what he can do. He's actually only at the Degners. Let's see if anyone else is near the end of their lap. I think Skippers is just rounding the final corner. He's down in 29th, 7 seconds he's got to find. Surely this is going to be an improvement. He's up into 26th, so he's found a 1.5 seconds on that lap. Another driver looking to improve is Chaos. He's coming round. He's down in 28th at the moment. And that pops him up into 23rd. So that is 3rd in class. That's a pretty decent lap for Chaos. Brian in silver is coming around now as well. And he improves into the top 20. He's 18th. Looks like Pole just behind popped up into 9th, and Capel's up into 8th as well there. Fitterer is going to try and respond. He's 2/10 down on Capel. What can he do? Doesn't improve by the looks of things. That's Rozhnov starting another lap with that slightly battered car. So he's been in the war since he's come out of the pits. He hasn't improved on his best time. He's still got a 4/10 gap to Steenstra, who's in 2nd right now. See, we've got Spectre making his return from silver to gold. He's down in 20th at the moment. He needs to find some more pace here. And it looks like he hasn't improved. He's going to have one more chance to do it. Maybe 2, actually. Steenstra is going to be next to cross the line. He's trying to improve. He's 2nd at the moment. Can he find an extra ½ second is basically what he'd need. Not this time. Now we've got Oliver is going to be the next one, just coming out of the chicane. Down in 10th, so he's doing pretty decent, excuse me. But he needs to find a little bit of extra time there, and he's not going to get it on this lap. Peters next up, he's P4 at the moment. What can the Mustang do? Is it going to get him into the top 3? Not this time as well. So no one's really improving in this phase of qualifying. Chaos about to come round for another lap. He's dropped down to 27th since he improved his lap time. And it's not... Oh, it is an improvement. He's up to 25th now, 3.5 seconds off. Capel trying to improve on what is already a provisional pole in class. He's back with a vengeance after being told he's not good enough for gold anymore, and he didn't improve. And he's going to return to the pits. Looks like Pitcher is about to come around again. He doesn't improve. Oh, something's happened. Qualifying seems to be over, actually. So that looks like it's it for qualifying. I don't know what's going on with my screen, though. Let's return to the garage. There we go. So Rozhnov gets pole position, so his first ALR pole position, I'm pretty sure that is, and you get some bonus points for that, I think. Maybe just one, I'm not sure. Steenstra in P2, solid qualifying for him once again. Weston in third. Peter, our pole sitter from last week, only managing 4th place this time. Rejnik's up in 5th. Skinsey in the end improving to 6th, so that's a decent qualifying for him. Zaitsev dropping to 7th, Mora dropping to 8th. Then Capel is your silver pole sitter in 9th. We've got Pole in 10th, Weatherston, Oliver, and then Fitterer in 13th. Elite Spectre improved to 14th in the end, and we got Cabras Paris in 16th, managed to improve to just a second down on pole positions time. So the whole top 16 basically only within a second of each other, but if you take out pole position, it goes all the way down to 18th, because we've got Scanlon down in 17th. He'll be very disappointed with that. So will Andy Winters and O'Morda, gold drivers outside the top 15. You don't expect to see it. Then you got Brian and Tierney, and then all the way down in 22nd is bronze pole, which is Dandes, ahead of Fitzpatrick, O'Leary, and Chaos. And then down at the back, Roloffs didn't set a time. We got Skippers and Kane. I think Kane might have been silver last week, so he's been moved down, which I think is a good shout if my recollection is correct. So everyone is just finishing the final setups before the race starts. Just reading your message, Ben. Yeah, so basically we've got one grid of 32 drivers, all of different pace, and they all have their own mini championships within the one race, because there's so many car slots that you can do that, and also because it costs money to per server that you need in ACC, so it's good to just have everyone in one. Maybe we'll get to a point where we have enough to field 2 full lobbies, but that is something we'll have to see about in the future. It would be good if we can. So yeah, I don't think Weatherston's going to find it as easy as last season, because Peter and Rozhanov have really had some good form, both last week and in the first qualifying session for this week as well. Weatherston is not at the very front like he would expect to be, although he has qualified better than last week where he was 8th on the grid. So he's making progress in that Honda. It's not considered one of the best cars, potentially even with this BOP. I'm assuming that's the case, and that's why no one else picked it. But we'll have to see. Overtaking should be a bit easier on this track as well, because of the straights. They're a lot longer than the ones that we had in Misano last week. Here we go. So they're on track. They're going to start their one reconnaissance lap side by side, warm up the tyres, all that good stuff, and then we'll get going. So it's going to be quite a long out lap, starting lap, formation lap, whatever you want to call it. So we've got Ferrari on pole, then it's a Honda, then we got 2 McLarens on the second row. The Mustangs actually dropped outside the top 4, so the highest Mustang's 5th, then another McLaren. So half the top 6 are McLarens. Then we have our first Porsche. So maybe the Porsche not looking so good. in this format, in this BOP setting that we got. Then we got another Mustang, then only the second Ferrari, so quite a big gap between the two Ferraris. Maybe that is the difference in setup coming into play a little bit as well. Then the first Lamborghini's down in 12th. The only Nissan is in 16th. Then we've got the BMWs, but they're all... No BMW in the top 20. The highest is TNE. Then we've got O'Leary, Maura, Ecstasy, Fracas, Roll-Offs. Lots of BMWs on the grid, but at the very back of it. So predictions for the race: Weatherston starting in second, so actually a little bit higher than I thought. Steenstra actually finished second, but Weatherston must have nicked it at the end, which we couldn't see. Just gonna put my money on him to win, to be honest. I'd love it if we get a new race winner in Rozhnov, though. I think Steenstra is still looking for his first race win as well.
10 seconds.
Ben, if you want to get involved, it's pretty straightforward. You have to register for SimGrid though, and then you have to do an evaluation race. Like in GT, we do evaluation races, and then yeah, they'll put you as a reserve basically. So yeah, after this season ends, there'll still be about half of the ACC season to go because they have a week break as well. So yeah, pretty easy. I know Dan's picked it up pretty quickly. He's already a silver driver. This is only his third race in ALR ACC, so it can be done. I think Dan's on controller as well, which is mad. So the entire top 10 actually turned out to be gold drivers. And the entire top 20 turned out to be gold and silver drivers. So they've got their placings pretty spot on for race 2, that's for sure. So Omoda's last of the gold drivers. He's going to be looking for a big improvement from P19. Maura is the last of the silver drivers. He's got 4 bronze drivers ahead of him as well. And 2 are in between him and O'Leary, so that's where his focus is going to be. Just trying to get into the top 20, I think, is the goal for those guys a little bit further down. At the front, they're starting to progress through the track, just exiting the second Degner, so we're around about halfway through. ACC is cross-play between PlayStation and Xbox. And then we can't do crossplay with PC. They just play with each other. So we've got a few, a few Xbox players in. Everyone who's got the little globe next to their name. So Morrow and the guys in 31st and 32nd as well. Works pretty well as well. I don't think there's any issues with it, with the crossplay. Nice classic livery on Rozhnov's car. Yeah, he definitely was in the wars in qualifying because his car's all repaired now at the front. Yeah, some interesting liveries. The ACC livery capabilities are not the same as GT's. You just get given... It's kind of more like F1's on PS5 where you just choose the colours and patterns and... yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. Yeah, keep an eye out for Weatherston in the purple. Steenstra's in the kind of pinky purple behind. And then Weston is in the black and yellow. Looks like a few cars have actually got ahead of Rozhnov through 130. Yeah, they are still ghosting through each other, which is relief. Now we're approaching the final turn, and this is where Rozhnov is going to start leading the pack side by side in a really tight run. 32 cars down into turn 1, which is a really sweeping, fast right-hander, followed by a slower right-hander where everyone's just going to concertina together. We're just waiting for the green lights to go, and as soon as that happens, it's fair game. Anyone can attack anyone who was reacting slowly to the signal. So round 2, ALR Season 4, Assetto Corsa Competizione is go. They've just announced the green light, and it looks like a pretty solid start from Weatherston, and Steve's just trying to make it 3 wide into turn 1. He backs out of it in the end. Weatherston swoops around the outside of Rozhnov, and he goes incredibly wide into turn 2, and that has pushed him down into, I think, only 3rd place somehow. He's recovered from that magnificently. I thought he was going to lose about 6 or 7 positions, to be honest, but he's lost a position, well, he's lost 2 actually, because he had that P1 in the bag, just went way too deep into turn 1, and he drops down to 3rd as a result of that, coming under a bit of pressure now from Peter. I think that is just behind him as we head into the end of the first sector. Everything is getting put in the right order eventually. But yeah, key takeaway is great start for, in the end, for our pole sitter Rozhnov. He's got the position, and he's got Steenstra as a little cushion between him and Weatherston, who might be ruining what happened on turn 1. Could end up being the pivotal moment in this race. We'll have to see how the rest of it pans out. So yeah, everything's shook out now, and it looks like it is Peter who is pretty close to Weatherston as we head into Spoon for the first time of many in this 60-minute race. Yeah, I'm amazed he saved it as well. If that happened, yeah, you're right, if it happened on GT, you're dead. So it looks like Weatherston's under pressure from Peter here. Peter's going to try and move on the inside of 130R, and Weatherston holds it around the outside. They both give each other plenty of room, which you love to see. Very difficult to do with that corner, so credit to these two. This is potentially a championship battle unfolding before we even know it, because Peter's our race 1 winner, and Weatherston is our 2-time defending champion at the moment. And it looked like Peter got a much better exit round the bend, and Weatherston was thinking about going defensive. He's now gone completely onto the grass and lost that position. Not entirely sure what happened there, but lost a bit of control and lost a lot of speed going onto that. So Weatherston having a nightmare here, down into P4 now, and Weston is going to be the next person to try and chase him down, with Zaitsev in P6, Forster is 7th, Rejnik's 8th, Mora 9th. Capel is in 10th, still 3 positions higher than the next best placing driver in silver. Fitzinho, meanwhile, is just 0.3 of a second ahead of... no, he's actually got a second up on Major here. So he's doing pretty well, up into 21st place. Still no bronze drivers in the top 20. So how is the battle at the front doing? Weatherston looks like he's struggling again. He's got Zaitsev behind him now, who managed to get past Weston. So Zaitsev in his Ford Mustang is going to be trying to power round Dave Weatherston fairly soon. Although he did get a much better exit from the chicane, so he's going to have a little bit of breathing space. Everyone is nice and evenly spread out at the front as we head into Spoon once again. Weatherston actually must have a pretty strong car at that section of the track, because he's starting to reel in Peter a little bit. Zaitsev's not letting him get away though, and Weston is lurking behind as well. And there's a little bit of a gap to Skinsey, who might be starting to hold up the drivers behind. Actually, it's probably more Rejniks who's at the front, but there is basically every driver in this pack still at the very front, apart from O'Leary's in the pits and Chaos is in the pits. So apart from those two, the other 30 drivers are all pretty close together on track. Rozhnov's lead has extended to just shy of 2 seconds now. Steenstra struggling a little bit on the end of that lap, has been reeled in by Peter, so Peter may be lining up a move here fairly soon. Seeing a lot more overtaking already in this race than we did last week, which is great to see. Chaos has an incident, unlucky. Long race though, a lot of other people will end up having incidents as well, so there's a lot of places to be picked up. Yeah, Steenstra's dropping back now. He doesn't appear to have the same pace as Rozhanov at this point of the lap. He's dropped down, well actually he's kept it at 1.9, so really slides through Degner 1, which will give a little bit of tyre wear on the damage. Looks like we're already coming up to lap a car on lap on lap 3, but that's ACC for you. You spend a lot of time in the pits trying to fix all your problems. A realistic amount of time, it should be said. Weatherston, meanwhile, has lost a position to Zaitsev, so he continues to go backwards. That's 2 Ford Mustangs in the top 4 now. So really strong start for the Mustang boys, and another Mustang in the top 10 as well, with Oliver in 10th place. So yeah, it's all closing up nicely. Forster's dropped down to 11th. He was all the way up in 7th just a few moments ago. So he's had an issue somewhere, and he's had to tuck in just behind Oliver there. Spectre 12th, Andy Winters has improved to 13th from the start. Omoda's still struggling in the outer reaches of the top 20, which is pretty much where he started as well. Meanwhile, Peter very close to Steenstra as we head into the end of lap 3. He's definitely got the slipstream on him. Should be able to have a move. He's in the Ford Mustang, which we know has a beautiful engine on it. He's going to have to try it around the outside on the entry into turn 1. Is there going to be enough space left? Oh, are they both going to make it? They do, and they're still side by side exiting the corner, and it looks like it might be enough for Peter. This might be P2 in the bag, and he's made some great progress since the start of the race, really making up for his poor qualifying compared to last week. And now he's got maybe 2.5 seconds to chase down to Rozhanov, which we'll see as soon as we finish this sector. Let's see what this turns into. 2.7 seconds is the gap, and he's already gapped Zaitsev. Oh, hold on. Steenstra's dropped to 6th. Steenstra's had an issue. Zaitsev, Weatherston and Weston have got past Steenstra in that opening sector, so he's a little bit out of sorts. It was going so well in P2, and then once one car overtook, it ended up being 3 others as well. So now he's just ahead of Regnix, who had a little bit of a gap between Weston and Regnix, and Steenstra slotted into that, so it might end up bringing more of the pack with him through the slipstream. Top 11 all very close together. Then there's a bit of a gap to Andy Winters, who's at the head of the next pack here, ahead of Paris and Fitterer. So Paris improving pretty well, second in class right now. At the top, the gap has extended actually to 3.3 seconds. So Peter having a bit of a scruffy lap. Or maybe Rozhanov's just really put the foot down. Let's see if this ends up being the fastest lap of the race, because with that kind of pace, it wouldn't surprise me. Does his number 1 go purple on the left? Actually doesn't. Okay. So potentially more of just a poor lap for Peter than a fantastic lap for Rozhanov there. Weatherston up in this battle for P2 as well. Let's see what's happening a little bit further down. Looks like Spectre's been in the wars. Look at the damage on the front of his car. He's dropped down to 20th place now. I think he'll probably have to come into the pits at some point fairly soon, because that will be costing him lap time for sure. So I wonder if that was a collision with another car or the barrier. Kane having a pretty good race in class. He's second in bronze and 22nd overall. It's like a little bit of battling going on down between Fracas and I think that's Dandes as well. It is indeed. So Fracas struggling to fend off Dandes at the moment. Dandes got the class win last week. They've both got a little bit of damage on the cars as well. Looks like just a little bit of paint work scuffed though. Fracas keeping his car ahead at the moment. It looks like Dandes has far more pace than him. And it looks like Maurer is trying to catch up, but he got the exit of Degna 2 all wrong and lost loads of momentum there. And Fracas looks like he's fought him off, at least for now. Scanlon, meanwhile, is in the middle of a huge battle between cars. Dan is incredibly close to Andy Winters now, so is he going to try and move into 130R? He looks like he's going for it in the Nissan. They make contact, and they've... well, actually, Dan keeps it on track. Andy Winters goes incredibly wide, keeps the position, and now Fitterer is in the action as well. Dan's having to defend from him, and it looks like there was contact between Dan and Fitterer. Fitterer span around, and Dan actually gets a great exit, and he's going to try again to get an overtake done on Andy Winters. And he's going on the outside into turn 1. It's not finished yet. Andy going defensive. Andy does not want to give this position up. Doesn't seem to have any of the pace that he had last week. Last week he was in the podium places for most of the race. Now Scanlon putting a lot of pressure on Paris as well. Scanlon had a good qualifying, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to his race so far. He's dropped down from, I think it was like 5th, down to 14th. Maybe it wasn't actually. I think I'm getting him confused with someone. A little bit further up, it looks like there was a Mustang trying to get an overtake done. Regnick's going pretty wide on the round the chicane, and Oliver taking a tighter line. It looks like he's going to try and get side by side, but he's going to take a really wide line through this flat out section. And it looks like he's still got the move done. That is incredible from the Mustang. Oliver overtaking Regnick's fairly easily there. Forcer now just stalking the back of Regnick's, trying to get a move done himself as he tries to make his way up the grid. Regnick's might try another move on Oliver though. And he doesn't have enough. I think that Mustang's just too powerful. And here comes Forcer on the inside of Regnick's into the chicane. Is he going to get it stopped in time to give each other plenty of space? Outside becomes inside for Regnick's, which becomes outside again, and Forcer's going to get the position. It looked like he had much better traction on the exit of that corner as Regnick's went a little bit wobbly, and he's lost a couple of positions in a couple of corners. So he'll be a bit gutted about that. Outside the top 10 for Regnick's, and a bit of progress now for Skinsey. At the front, looks like it's pretty much as you were. 3.8 seconds the gap between Rozhnov at the front and Peter. Peter's got a solid 1.6 second gap to Zaitsev, who's starting to get reeled in by Weatherston. So he had more pace than Weatherston, and it kind of looked like he'd potentially drop Weatherston, but Weatherston has kept the pace, as has Weston. So this top 5 still fairly close together on pace as the laps start winding down. Really wide there by the Mustang. That was Peter in front. Yeah, getting the exit of Degna 2 all wrong, but still kept his car pointing the right way. Maybe the tyres are starting to hurt some of these cars. You do have to adjust your driving style in ACC for when the tyres start going off. So we're rounding out Spoon. Zaitsev has a fairly decent, maybe like a 3 or 4/10 lead at the moment on Weatherston. And if my calculations are right, he should still be able to maintain that gap because of the Mustang. I'm not quite sure how good the Honda engine is, but the whole purpose of the Mustang is to blast past people on the straights, and that's probably why they're sitting second and third right now. So we exit lap 7, and yeah, the gaps have pretty much 7/10 across the board, so not much going on there. Morrow pretty close to Steenstra now. So Steenstra, remember, he was second place. He has dropped to 2 seconds behind P5, and he's coming under pressure from Morrow now, so he's losing time as the race is going on. Capel has a massive lead in silver class this week. He's P8 and Cabras is 15th. That's crazy. Who demoted him? Whose decision was that? I bet you, as soon as he found out, he was like, right, I'm practicing so much for this round to prove that I'm not a silver driver. I know his ego must have been hurt by that. Anyway. Rozhnov has taken the fastest lap of the race in the last couple of laps as well. So an extra bonus point for him if I think if he carries that purple for the end of the race. Peter's starting to fall into the clutches of the chasing pack as well here. He had a much more comfortable lead over Zaitsev a lap or two ago. And this is going to help Zaitsev, who can utilize some of this slipstream on the straights just for some extra engine performance. This is where the next big battle's going to come, and it might come a bit earlier because both Mustangs go really wide off the track there. That was a really hairy moment for both of them. Peter goes deep into the chicane, and now they're kind of a little bit side by side mid-chicane, and Zaitsev has to back out of this, and this might help Weatherspoon get a good run. They're all taking pretty tight lines round the final bend, and this looks like a move in the making. They're all pretty close together, and yeah, none of them had enough there actually. Zaitsev gets away with it for another lap at least. I should say Peter actually. So our race winner from last week having to battle and not having as good of a time this week. His podium's potentially under threat here with 3 cars incredibly close behind. Weatherspoon just a little bit off of this pack as well. Then we have the gaps keeps widening between Weston and Steenstra as well. He's not having the best of races pace-wise anymore, Steenstra, after his really impressive qualifying. Potentially got a better qualifying setup than race setup. Morrow hasn't done much to chase him down though. Oliver, meanwhile, just ahead of Forza. Looks like Scanlon's dropped all the way down to 13th, so he's had more issues since these two have oh no, it was Regnix who overtook him. Excuse me. Forza, meanwhile, wants to get a move on. He's got potentially a good finish in his sights if this is his race pace round here. But he needs to get past Oliver fairly quickly. And like we've seen a little bit further up, getting past the Mustang is not easy. As Weatherspoon is trying to do here on the run down to 130R. Again, he's just not close enough. He closed into under 0.2 of a second, but that is extended to over 0.3 now. Skinsey must have had a bit of a mistake in Spoon because he's not as close as I expected him to be. Andy Winters going side by side with Scanlon. And Scanlon looks like he's got the position actually. So that was a good overtake there for Scanlon, up into P12, 4 seconds down on Regnix at the moment. Goes wide into the chicane though. This might give Winters another chance to get an overtake done. No one coming into the pits yet, apart from Oliver. Oliver's the first of the top 10 to come into the pits in the race. Some people have done the pit stop at the start. It's like Winters is coming under a little bit of pressure from Omoda now. Omoda stuck his nose in and backed out of it into the entry of turn 1. And Andy keeps the position, but he's going backwards. He's lost a lot of pace, and he's losing time fighting these cars as well. Peter nose to tail with his fellow Mustang here. I nearly said teammate. I just assumed because they're in Mustangs that they must be teammates, but I don't think that's quite a thing in ACC. Zaitsev getting a really poor exit from the hairpin, and Weatherstone's going to try and have a move at him. I don't know what's going on with the camera work, but yeah, this is the closest we've seen Weatherstone in a little while now. Zaitsev just has to place his car perfectly on the exit and get a really good slingshot out of Spoon, because he's lost a bit of time now to Peter. And yeah, Weatherstone's really tucked in nicely into the slipstream. Maybe into the chicane he might be able to have a go if he nails 130R. And it looks like the Mustang has fended him off for now. A little bit deep onto the entry of the chicane. This might give Weatherstone a chance finally. Weatherstone looked like he got the exit a little bit wrong as well, going a little bit wide on the exit, so it'll be very close. We're on lap 11 now. And it's still not enough. There's just not enough that Weatherstone could do in that Honda to get into the podium positions unless one of these cars makes a mistake. That's literally the only thing he can hope for. Let's see where Oliver came out. Oliver's down in 25th after making his pit stop, so very, very long pit stop drops you out of the top 10 and then down to 25th and 14 seconds off of the next best car. But he's plenty of time ahead, 2 laps ahead of Dandes. So O'Leary, Druid and Pole all multiple laps down already. Weatherstone's still super close. This is the part of the track where he is faster. If you can nail the exit of Degner 2, he might be able to get alongside. He lost a bit of traction on the exit, and yeah, that is another chance gone for him. But yeah, I gotta say Zaitsev is coping really well with driving with this much pressure, because it's not just Weatherstone behind now. There's 3 other cars. Even Steenstra and Morrow have caught up to this battle. So the race for P2 is still between everyone in the top 7. Even if Rozhnov looks like he's running away from it. So there's a lot to battle for. Zaitsev falling off the back of Peter, though, it's got to be said. Which is perfect for Peter, actually, because it's holding up Weatherstone. He's getting quite a big gap that potentially won't be fixed through like an undercut or an overcut if Weatherstone tries either of those. Let's see, is anyone gonna jump into the pits? I don't think so, actually. Everyone is continuing. Capel's still in P8, just ahead of, I think that's a lapped car, it's not Forza. Yeah, he's got a 30 on his badge. A bit further down, Winters is still holding up on Mortar. Scanlon is nearly 2 seconds ahead of them at this point. He tried to go a couple of laps going to turn 1. Is he going to do the same again? He does, but it's just a distraction tactic more than anything, because Andy Winters just takes the corner normally and just as if he wasn't there. So yeah, some good defensive driving on display today by Andy, keeping P12 at the moment. It's like Weston's dropped a little bit off the back of Weatherstone and Zaitsev, so Zaitsev has potentially found a little bit of pace. Steenstra might be thinking about having a go fairly soon. So we're approaching the halfway point. We're 24 minutes into the race now. The tyres will be starting to hurt, especially for some drivers who haven't been as gentle on the tyres as others. Sliding through corners is a good way of doing it. Going into the gravel, obviously, is a good way of ruining your tyres. The key thing in ACC is to keep your tyres into the normal heat range. It looks like Steenstra is under a bit of pressure now. if you keep it in the optimum heat range on each of your tyres, you're going to get the maximum optimal performance out of them for the longest time as well. Morrow considers a little late move into the chicane, and he can't do it, but it causes Steenstra to go wide into the entry of the chicane, which loses him a bit of time, but he dives into the pits anyway. So he's lost a bit of time there battling Morrow, but no further time lost. Be interested to see where he comes out, because he was battling, well, he was ahead of BO by a few seconds. So expecting that to be fairly the same, although Oliver hasn't been battling, so he could potentially come out ahead. Steenstra could potentially come out behind Oliver there. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Rozhanov's lead is still 6 seconds ahead of Peter. Oh, all kicking off here. Peter's obviously lost a fair bit of time, and he's fallen back into the clutches of Zaitsev and Weatherston. There's a lapped car coming up as well to make things a bit more fun. Zaitsev gets the last left-hander very wrong, and Weatherston's really close behind him now. As we go into the Degners on the exit, it's going to be really important that they all nail the exit of this corner, and it looks like they all do. So still nothing what Weatherston can do to get up into the top 3 as it stands. Looks like a much better corner exit as well for Weatherston. So he might have a chance if he's really brave into Spoon, but his tyres as well will be fairly worn. So nothing yet. Very cautious through this last phase. It looks like Steenstra has come out ahead of Oliver by quite a way. We'll have to see if he is in any traffic, because that will affect the battle with the top 5 as well. 6.4 seconds the gap, so yeah, Peter having a fairly dodgy lap or two. And are we going to see anyone else diving into the pits yet? Looks like they're carrying on, even though Zaitsev is really fancying this P2. He's right up the slipstream of Peter, and he's going to go into the inside line for turn 1. I'm not sure if he's fully alongside yet. He's going to have to be brave on the brakes. They both make... Oh, they don't make it through. Peter actually goes wide, and it ends up being a fairly routine overtake there for Zaitsev up into P2 now. And Peter's going to have to try and get that position back fairly quickly. Got a back mark getting out the way as well. Steenstra's got a fairly decent gap ahead of him to pound the lap times in, while these guys at the front are fighting as well. So he could potentially jump all of them. He's 3 seconds down on Maurer, so he's got plenty of clean air. The gap's nearly 7 seconds now. This is perfect for Rozhanov. He's just ahead on his own, not having to worry about anything, and these guys are all fighting for their lives on the podium. Oh, really deep there by Peter. That is going to allow Weatherston to get alongside. Actually, a fairly decent exit as well by Peter, so he keeps the position for now. Weatherston really close to the back of him, but it's still not going to be enough to have him go into Spoon. Now it's going to be interesting to see who ends up being the first to blink here. Andy Winter's in the pits as well, currently. He'll probably come out behind Steenstra, I'm assuming, so we'll keep an eye on that. Steenstra's still the highest driver who's actually made a pit stop. Most of the grid have not made their stop yet. A little bit wide by Peter, by Zaitsev, sorry. Peter late on the brakes and still makes the chicane. Really good braking there. Now, who is the first to blink? They are all carrying on. Another time, Peter's actually got a great run out of the last corner. He's going to try and get past his fellow Mustang once again. He's going to be on the outside once again. Is he going to be off track in turn 1 once again? He is. The exact same move happens, and Zaitsev keeps the position once again. Increases the gap to 8 seconds from Rozhanov. So yeah, now it looks like Weston and Morrow are going to start to catch back up to them as well. The gap had increased to 2 seconds. Steenstra still the net race leader. He has just managed to get past Maurer, it looks like, in the BMW, who is showing as ahead of him. And then there's a 19-second gap. Got a whole host of drivers currently in the pits: Capel, Regnix, Cabras, and TNE as well. But at the front, it is, as you were, Zaitsev struggling through Degner 2. Still got Peter very close behind him. Every time there's been an overtake, the lead driver hasn't been able to get away like anticipated. It's kind of a curse being at the head of the field at the moment. What is going on? Here we are. And Weatherston just can't do anything anyway. He just has to stay within 0.3 of a second behind these two, who are constantly battling for position. So it looks like potentially another race where Weatherston doesn't win. We're halfway through and he's about potentially 10 seconds off the pace. Is Rozhnov going to come in the pits? Let's have a little look at him as we head into the final chicane. Goes a little bit wide on entry, actually. 9-second lead. He won't be worried about that too much. And he finally makes his pit stop. Meanwhile, Zaitsev still just ahead of Peter, just ahead of Weatherston. Going out of the final chicane really wide on exit. He'd definitely be overtaken if he wasn't coming into the pits. He comes in. Peter is going to be the new race leader. Him and Weatherston have been unleashed, at least for a lap, to try and do an overcut, which should be quite difficult for them. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It depends how good they've treated their tyres in this opening phase. Weatherston potentially has been treating his a bit better, although he slid on the exit there, so that indicates that his tyres are pretty worn at the moment. If they're still in temperature, oh no. Well, Peter's down into second, and Weatherston just gets gifted a great easy position there on track, and yeah, that's just unfortunate. Peter's going to be battling with Weston now, who's decided to stay out. Morrow's gone into the pits. Steenstra is still hasn't finished his lap, and all these cars are in the pits, so we'll have to see what happens with him when they all come out of the pits. But meanwhile, Weatherston, who what is going on? Weatherston is in first place in the purple. Then we've got Peter, who's just been overtaken by Weston, so it's going from bad to worse for Peter. He's dropping behind badly. His car is in a shambles at the moment, so he's going to limp back home to the pits. Omoda has stayed out. He's 22 seconds off the back of Weston, though, trying to recover. Looks like Forza is now the at the head of the pack who've made pit stops. I'm not quite sure where Rozhnov's down in 8th. Not sure what's happened to him. Something massive has happened to Rozhnov. He was our race leader. He's got the fast lap of the race. He has been very comfortable all race. Oh, never mind. It's played a trick on me. He hadn't crossed the sector line. When you cross the sector line, you go to where you should. So actually, just ignore everything I just said. Rozhnov is our net race leader. He's 11 seconds ahead of Steenstra, who's really taken advantage of that undercut. He's ahead of Zaitsev. Just ahead at the moment. Looks like Zaitsev's trying to catch up to him, and then behind Morrow is overtaking Capel. Is that Capel? Or it might be a lapped car, sorry. Then Capel is still ahead of Forza. Forza's down in 12th, Oliver's down in 11th. Then we have Regnix and Scanlon. A little bit further back, Fracker still hasn't made a pit stop, but he's only 19th. So he's not having the best of times. At the front, Weatherston's going around for another one, as is Omoda. Weston's finally coming to the pits. Peter's finally coming to the pits. So it's going to be a case of how long is Weatherston going to try and stick it out? Is he going to try and ensure he's still in P2 at least when he comes out of the pits? He's got a huge gap to Rozhnov. Rozhnov came into the pits a lot earlier, which means his tyre wear might be a little bit more than Weatherston's come the end of the race. It depends how they treat the cars and how in temperature they can keep them as well. It's all something you have to calculate before the race, your tyre pressures for each set of tyres as well. It's a bit crazy. Weatherston on a charge now, though. He's actually gone extended on Omoda by 2.5 seconds since the last lap, so he's not making any mistakes apart from then. He goes really wide on the exit of Spoon. And I am wondering how track limit penalties are going to be applied on this one. We saw a huge amount at the end of the last race ruin a bunch of drivers' races, especially Andy Winters, who was on for a good result before the track limits penalty, the drive-through penalty that you earn for extending a few too many times. I've seen quite a few of them from different drivers so far in this race, so they'll be clocking up, I'm sure. Rosnov doing pretty well. Looks like Weatherston is finally coming into the pits. Nearly got it wrong on the entry there. His car was a little bit shaky, but he makes it into the pit stops. The key is, where is he going to be? Steenstra's managed to jump everybody in the pits. Peter's down behind him and Morrow, and Weston's down in 11th. So Weston having a really bad, maybe having to repair some light damage in the pits for Weston, which isn't great for him. It's dropped him a whole huge number of places. Andy Winters and Oliver in the top 10. Capel's in the top 10 as well for sure. All these places are going to go up by 1 or 2. Omoda's still going out. He's our new race leader. So good news for Omoda. He was finished, I think he started about 18th. Made some slow progress, but he's got some clear air now to try and let his true pace shine through and come out potentially, I don't know, maybe around about 10th would be a pretty good deal for him. We have to wait and see what his pace has been like though. Rosnov takes his lead's been cut by the looks of things. There's Rosnov. Where's Weatherston? Actually, no, it hasn't. There's quite a big gap between Rosnov and Weatherston. Steenstra is in 3rd, so he's managed to play the strategy game perfectly. Steenstra, he came out in some beautiful clear air. A lot of cars around him were fighting. They're no longer in the top 5 anymore. That's Peter and where's the other one? Peter and Oliver. Where's Rosnov? Rosnov looks like he's quit, actually. So that's a shame. Maybe he got disconnected, but his name has completely disappeared anyway. So, yeah, that's a shame that guy left. Oh no, he's there, he's 27th. Someone's left though. Actually, a couple of people have left, because I should be showing as 33rd. We've got Zaitsev all the way down in 7th, sorry. So he's been in the wars, maybe picked up a penalty, I'm not quite sure. But he was battling in the podium positions all race long, and now it's turning on its head a little bit. Steenstra, a favourite for a podium. He's just ahead of Morrow. Then we got Peter 5 seconds back on them, just ahead of Capel actually. So let's stick with this little battle. Let's see if Capel can get a gold rated scalp coming up. Peter looking a little bit out of sorts since the first 20 minutes at least anyway. Maybe a little bit of fatigue. His car's looking slightly battered. I'm not sure if that's enough to lose him some time. Capel really on a charge now as well. Looks like they're pretty close heading into the final chicane. Capel's car was looming in the background, trying to get in the mirrors. And he's going to get a good exit here as well. So this Ferrari of Capel should be able to get Peter. Peter looks like he's thinking about going defensive, but he's leaving the door open if Capel wants to try and chuck it in. And yeah, Peter in the Mustang keeps him behind. He's got quite a big gap. That's a lapped car that they're approaching tomorrow, but it looks pretty close as well between Weatherston, Steenstra, who is ahead of Weatherston, it looks like. So something's happened with Weatherston. He's lost a position to Steenstra here. Steenstra is now net P2, overtaking Weatherston at some point. Weatherston looking like he's not got good pace because Morrow's all over the back of him now as well. So Weatherston was really close to cars in front of him, but now he's struggling for pace, and Steenstra, who was struggling for pace a bit earlier on, has really come alive on these new tyres that he's put on. Weatherston falling a little bit backwards at the moment. Wasn't expecting to see that. Maybe something's going on with his settings, or the way he's set up the car, potentially the tyres are not up to speed. That could be it as well. He seems to have regained his composure a little bit because Mora's not as close as he was, and he's starting to get back up to the back of Steenstra. Very close heading into 130R. And he's not trying to get past the Mustang this time, so he might have a better chance here. 19 laps in, Omorda still hasn't made his pit stop yet. This is a really interesting strategy, but that's not what we should be focusing on because Morrow has finally got alongside Weatherston. He's had a very poor exit out of the final chicane, and Morrow goes off. There's contact between the two of them, and Morrow's car is completely totaled. He's gonna have to reset to pits and wait. That is a huge blow to him. What's gonna happen to Weatherston? Weatherston potentially, where is he? Could have a lot of damage on his car as well. We'll have to have a look. His car actually looks remarkably unscathed. Okay, Weatherston got away with that one. O'Morrow's gonna be plummeting down the order outside the top 20 towards 30th place. That's gonna be a lot of damage that he's gonna have to repair after that. Weatherston now is a little bit free to start attacking Steenstra as they negotiate some of these lapped cars. I wonder if we'll see that in the stewards lounge. I don't know whose fault that could have potentially been. It all happened a little bit too quick, but Weatherston catching up to Steenstra now anyway, so he's on a charge from getting overtaken by a driver to that driver edging up in the wall, and he's potentially in a net P2 here. Omorda's still carrying on again. He's finished lap 20 now and he's not in the pits. Weston meanwhile is in P9, just behind Forcer and Oliver. So yeah, they're okay for now. Let's see what's happening in this little fight between Oliver and Skinsy. Oliver coming up to lap a car as well, so that car's going to have to get out the way. I think it just disappeared off the face of the earth. Yep, and Forcer has been stuck behind Oliver for quite a long time, even before the pit stop, so nothing changed because of the pits. Oliver going a little bit defensive, a little bit not defensive anymore. He's not got to worry about Skinsy into turn 1 unless he goes really wide. It looked like he went a little bit wide into the first part of the corner. Made it a little bit tighter on the exit. But yeah, 3 cars line astern here. Yeah, they're very, very close together, but I'm going to have a little look at what's happening a little bit further back. Zaitsev all the way down in last place, 30th place now, getting lapped by the race leader. Then we got Druid, he has to serve a 30-second stop go. Pole's having an absolute nightmare in silver, down in 28th. Skippers, Fracas. We got O'Leary, the lowest ranked silver driver. Oh, Morrow is still in the pits, by the way, getting his damage repaired. Got Blocker, Dandez. Dandez is 4th in class behind Major, which it looks like... Well, actually, that's not who he's battling with. Letting some of the faster guys go through, I think. Maurer is the first driver in the top 20 in 20th place. Kane doing pretty well at the moment in 19th. A bit better than the previous rounds that we've seen. Fitzinho first in class in bronze, has a 12-second lead over Kane, so it's going pretty well for Fitz. He got through his pit phase without getting a penalty as well, so he just needs to focus for 16 minutes to bring it home. Paris is just outside the podium spots in silver, so pretty decent debut. He's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to catch Fitterer and get on the podium. Tierney having a really solid round compared to last week, second in class, just outside the top 10 himself. Got Andy Winters in front of him for company. Omoda still hasn't made a pit stop yet. Weatherson is ahead of Steenstra though, so we missed a little overtake here. Weatherson up into a net P2 after Omoda makes his pit stop. So this is really solid stuff from Weatherson. Looks like he's coming up to a lapped car. I think that lapped car might be what's his name? Zaitsev. But yeah, Weatherson's not going to be shaking Steenstra too quickly, I don't think. 4 seconds further back, we got Peter, who is himself 2 seconds ahead of Capel. Let's go a little bit further down. Looks like Oliver's actually lost out to Forster and Weston there, so both of them up in position. Oliver, the big loser, must have had a little bit of an incident at some point to lose all that time. Forster's still just ahead of Weston though, but this is a much better race for Forster, up into P7 now. 9 seconds back on Capel. I think something extreme would have to happen for Capel to lose that P6 at this point. Looks like someone's completely off track. I couldn't see who that was. Might have been Regnix. Is that Regnix? Number 23. That was actually Blocker. Yeah, he's reset to pits. That is Blocker. Unfortunate for him. Just 1 second. I need to plug in my headphones. Right, so where does that leave us with the scores on the doors? Weatherson in P3. Let's go a little bit further back though. Let's see what's happening towards the rear of the race. We've got Blocker in the pits. We've got Morrow 3 laps down. He is only just now leaving the pits after that huge incident. So he's lost 3 laps on everybody. He's down in 28th place. He's hardly scoring any points. I think he'll be so annoyed with what's happened. I'm not sure if he moved a little bit left under braking or if, you know, they just came together, but we might end up seeing that in the steward's room. We'll have to wait and see. Maurer is caught up to the back of Kane. These are not in the same class, but Kane is ahead of Maurer on track, which he'll be pretty pleased with. This is a fight between a McLaren and a BMW. Oh, a little bit shaky on the exit there for Maurer. Gives Kane some breathing room. A little bit further up, Cabras is battling with Paris. Paris back up into the top 3. Actually, no, he's 4th in class. He's trying to keep hold of 4th, actually, on Cabras. So it's Capel, Tierney, and Fitterer in the top 3 in class. Looks like some dodginess is going on here. Both of them a little bit out of shape. Looks like Paris has actually lost that position now. And Cabras goes really sideways through the exit of the final Degner, and Paris might try and get the position back straight away. He's going wide into the entry of the hairpin, and there's no switchback that could be done there. He's going to have to tuck behind Cabras and settle for P16. We head into Spoon. He's actually going for it into Spoon though, and again tucks in behind. I thought he was absolutely sending it there, but he backed out. Omoda's finally in the pits, by the way. Really keen to see where Omoda comes out of the pits. He was struggling, well, around about where we are right now. He was 18th when everyone started making the pit stops, which seems like an eternity ago. He's come out, and where is... I don't think he's in P6. He's tucked up behind... who is that? It's not Capel. I can't tell. We need to see. We need to wait for the end of the sector. It looks like he might be in 10th place, actually. That might be Oliver right in front of him. Ninth place. Okay, but he is behind Oliver, and then 10th is Regnick. So this might be a bit of an exciting battle. Omoda's going to have to bring those tyres up to temperature and then capitalize on their freshness, because Oliver's been out on these tyres a lot longer. Cabras looks like he's finally got past Paris as well. So Omoda just tucking in nicely. I mean, going incredibly long definitely worked for Omoda. He has leapfrogged at least 6 or 7 positions through doing that. Obviously, some drivers have had their own issues, like Morrow. It's okay. Weatherston's gap to Rojnov in the meantime is extended to 14 seconds. So yeah, some gaps starting to appear throughout the entire top 5. This is the closest battle I think we're going to see. Omoda really has to get a move on if he wants to get an overtake done, but it's not going to happen into turn 1. He's way too far back from Oliver at the moment. These are drivers that are battling in the same class. All 3 of them gold drivers, with Regnick's behind as well. Regnick has won a gold championship in the past, so I don't think he's going to be very satisfied with P10 right now. Capel, meanwhile, in P5. That's incredible. Where was this Capel last week? Yep, he's beating the runner-up from last season. He's only... Let's wait and see what this comes up with. He's about 10 seconds down on the double champion of ALR. Meanwhile, Oliver and Omoda are up to 7th and 8th. What's happened with Forcer? He's down in 10th at the moment. I'm sure he was higher than that. Or was it Tierney? Tierney's might have fallen down. Someone's fallen down. Andy Winters just ahead of Scanlon at the moment as well. Some lapped cars coming up. Yeah, and he's getting well out the way, which is what you love to see. Unfortunate to be a lap down and having to do that, but that is the nature of the beast in ACC. Weston, meanwhile, is just all on his own in P6. Don't know how he's behind Capel, to be honest, because he was showing some good pace at times. Oliver's still just ahead of Omoda. Omoda's only got 8 minutes to get this overtake done. If he nails 130R, he might have a chance. Looks like both of them did well enough. Omoda did close the gap a bit. Takes the entry of the chain so much better than the driver ahead, and this is potentially his chance. He is definitely within a couple of tenths at this stage. Oliver going ultra defensive. Omoda's tried to get in the slipstream and then said, right, I've got enough overspeed anyway. We're going to go side by side into turn 1 again. Omoda has to back out of it. He's going to try the switch back a little bit. Ben leaves him the room, and there's contact, and Omoda spins Oliver around. Oliver's still stuck in the gravel. He needs to be careful not to rejoin unsafely here as well after that really unfortunate incident. Everyone's going to come around and overtake him now outside the top 10 for sure. Yep. That was Andy Winters and Cabaras, I'm pretty sure, as well. So a lot of drivers overtaking Oliver there. A little bit further up. Where are we? Omoda has dropped to... Well, actually, he's 9th now. Regnick has actually got ahead of Omoda. So I don't know if Omoda's got some damage here. He could well do. Let's have a little look at his car as it comes past. Looks like he got away with no damage, but he did drop 3 seconds to Regnick, basically, who was behind him when that incident happened. Regnick's a little bit wobbly out of that corner. He was down in 10th. He's all the way up into 7th all of a sudden. Forcer benefiting from that up to 9th as well. Tierney back in the top 10. Just a couple of seconds ahead of Fitcherer. That doesn't look like a couple of seconds. Looks like less than that. Then we got the Andy Winters train with Scanlon, Cabaras, Paris and Oliver rejoining at the back of this train as well. So Oliver down at 16th. 6 minutes left to go as well. Andy Winter's car is very badly bruised, as is Scanlon's. This is the pack that I think we want to be focusing on. If the cars are battered and bruised, it means they've been in the wars, which means there is a high likelihood that it could happen again. Here we go. Scanlon's thinking about it. Andy Winters looks like he's not got the best top line speed compared to these cars. Everyone's closing in on him. No one's brave enough under braking this time. But it all depends on this exit. Looks like a decent enough exit for Andy. And Cabras actually had a fairly good exit as well. He's pretty close to Scanlon, but I don't think anyone's close enough to have a move unless we see something really audacious here for Scanlon into turn 1. We've only got 5 minutes left to get the position. And yeah, backs out of it again. So really interesting to see the mix of cars here. We've got lots of golds and silvers in this little battle. The golds are holding up the silvers as well. Got a silver driver in the top 5 in Capale. Holding his own pretty well. Weatherston and Rozhnov seem to be pretty similar pace in this second stint. The gaps stayed in the 14s for the entire time. Fitterer still trying to chase down Tierney, but can't really close him in, so he might have to settle for 3rd in class. Scanlon... Well, something's happened to Andy Winters that we've just missed. He's down to 16th now. He's even behind Oliver, so he's dropped 4 positions in one go. Looks like Scanlon is coming under a lot of pressure from Cabras as well, and Paris is there too. So, lots going on in this little battle. They seem to be dropping Oliver and Andy Winters now as well, so I think they were holding... Well, Andy especially was holding them up. So it could be a P12 salvage for Scanlon. Not quite sure what happened to his race. Really wide exit throughout the entirety of Spoon. That's going to allow Cabras to really close in before 130R. Could be another opportunity here. Scanlon's already going defensive, and he's got the overspeed Cabras, and it looks like he's fully ahead. Is it going to be any? There's definitely lots of contact. Both of them half spin. Cabras actually rejoins without fully spinning, but they both lose a position to Paris. Paris up into 12th because of all the carnage happening in front of him. He's gained 4 positions through other drivers making mistakes. Looks like Scanlon's under a lot of pressure still again. Oliver's under pressure from Andy Winters as well. It's all going off here. Yeah, and Dan's just going to drive away from them all. P4 in class for Dan. Some great overtaking there. And Cabras stuck behind the gold driver, Scanlon here. Unable to do anything. Going sideways again as a little bit more contact made between the two of them. Andy losing a lot of traction as well, which loses him a chunk of time to the back of this group. And yeah, he's close to Scanlon. I have a feeling that the car condition has something to do with it at this point. I think the damage on Scanlon's car is really holding him back. Really wide into the entry of the first Degner though. Not good. And then he gets a better exit from the second one. Dan is just driving away from them at the moment. Yeah. And now Oliver might have a chance to salvage something out of his race as well. He's closing in on Cabras himself now. We know he's had some really good pace today. Really unlucky with that spin that happened to him. Same for Andy. We know the Mustang's really good in a straight line, and it gets a much better exit out of that corner than Cabras did. Cabras took a really tight exit, so he didn't get on the throttle properly. Now Oliver's going to try and move around the outside of him into 130R. Let's see if these two can make it round. Cabras gives him plenty of room, and Oliver gets at least 1 position back. They're not fighting in the same class, so maybe Cabras didn't fight that one too hard. Bitterer, meanwhile, is still just about a second behind Tierney in that last fight for the top 10. Scanlon's starting to drop Oliver a little bit with those two fighting behind. Let's see what's going on in bronze meanwhile. So last time we joined, Fitzinho had a massive lead. He's extended it to 21 seconds now. Kane doing really solid in second in class. Major 4 seconds behind him. And there's a further 22 seconds down to Dandes. So Dandes not having the same kind of form that he was showing last week. We got Fracas and Skippers. Chaos and Blocker have had to be multiple laps back. Morrow is the last placed gold driver, as well as Zaitsev. Both of them could have potentially been on the podium today, but getting in issues of their own. Then O'Leary's at the back of Silver, but actually he's not that far back. He's 23rd. So it looks like Cabras has dropped behind Andy Winters now as well. So Cabras not having a good time at the end of this race. We are approaching the last lap, so let's join with Rojnev. He has just started his final lap, so everyone else is going to finish theirs and do one more as it stands. Andy Winters has a drive-through penalty, so that's going to be an even bigger disaster for him. World's down in 15th, potentially finishing maybe could still finish 17th with the drive-through. We shall see. Meanwhile, Rojnov has done incredibly well in this race. He's controlled it pretty much from start to finish. Pole position, yeah, everything really solid. Took the lead of the race well. No notes. Much improved from last week as well. He looked like he had bags of pace there, but I think he was on the podium. But this time it'll be the top step. Weatherston looks like he's going to get a really creditable second place, his second P2 of the season. And Steenstra, after his issues where he lost a bunch of positions at the start of the race as well, actually recovering nicely to third place as it stands, as long as they can get around this final lap. Drive-through penalty for car number 7 as well. That's the same one. He's got 2 laps remaining, so he's just going to finish the race, and it'll be applied post-race, so he's going to drop like a stone after that. Weatherston approaching, I'm not sure what car that is, it's a purple one. P11, that would be Fitcherer. So he's lapped everyone up to 12th. Is that right? No, that's his 17, that's Brian actually. He's going to lap everyone up to 16, unless Brian lets him through. I think Brian wants to get his last lap in. So he's not going to... Oh, actually, it looks like he might be letting him through. I don't know. We'll see. Rojnov, anyway, takes victory. A very, very solid and dominant victory for Rojnov. He should be pretty proud of himself with that. He's got a huge, huge gap back to Weatherston in P2, who had to pick his way through the field again after dropping back at the start. He started P2, he's ending P2, but it was a long journey to get there. P2 for Weatherston. Steenstra dropped off the back Weatherston a little bit at the end there. He is going to finish in third place, first podium of the season for Steenstra. Peter, our race winner from last week, had a dodgy middle part of the race, ends up 4th, which isn't too bad. Capel, a fantastic 5th place for the silver driver, moving back up to gold next week. Weston is in 6th place. Solid drive for him. He was round about 10th for a lot of the race as well, so he managed to improve at the end. Rejnik's improving from the mistakes of others as well to get up into 7th at the end. Looks like Paris has been in the wars. He's dropped way back. Omoda is 8th now. Forza is in 9th. Tierney is going to finish 2nd in class. He is in 10th place, managing to stay just ahead of Fitcherer in 11th, crossing the line there. Scanlon is in 12th. Then we got Oliver up into 13th, Andy Winters with his drive-through. Then we got Cabras getting ahead of Paris at the end. So Paris having a bit of a rocky final couple of laps there to only finish 16th. Then we got another gap down to Brian and Fitzpatrick, the only 2 drivers on left on the lead lap. So we'll see how far behind they are, because they might still be ahead of Andy Winters with this 30-second drive-through that he's got to serve post-race. Yeah, he does finish ahead of Andy Winters, so that's actually P16 for Brian. Fitzinho's in the pits. I don't know what's happened there. But yeah, he is 18th, Longworth 19th, and Major in 20th. So I'll be interested to see what that does to the standings. Weatherston's going to definitely be up there with two P2s. Two incredibly strong results for Rosnov and Peter as well. All three of them will be breaking away from the pack. For Silver, difficult to say. Maybe Fitcherer will still be at the top, but that's a great start for Capel. I don't know if last week's points will count towards Silver. Fitzinho, a really solid win for him, is going to give him a bucket load of points. He didn't have the best race last week. Same for Kane. Same for Major. So, yeah, maybe Dandes will cling on to the bronze lead for now. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, guys. And, yeah, join